The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% off your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Dan, Michael and Moscow White with you on the weekly show 252. TSB Plus, if you're not yet a subscriber, you want our full package, have a look at that. All the digital copies of the mag, podcasts ad-free, priority access to the match ball, merchandise discounts. And this week we've got on the Extra Ball, which is the subscriber-only podcast, we've got a debrief of Calvin's ad appearance because he's in the JD ad, isn't he? And I'm not just looking at that, but other famous Leeds United advertising appearances such as
Trezor Candle, we've got Ken Bates.
Yeah, can we hear from Ken just a little sample of that? I've got the clip lined up.
In fact, are you okay? Looking at the windows at the back. Get the front absolutely free. They do doors as well. It was in Ken's slightly younger days, so it's not quite as...
He had more vim and vigour, didn't he? So.
The 30-second advert time length has been adhered to.
And we're kicking off the first in an occasional series this week on the Extra Ball of LUFC Bastards, because Steve Morrison, as we are about to learn in this show, has been appointed Cardiff manager. So we're going to dissect him in the metaphorical sense, aren't we? So look out for that on the Extra Ball. Full details at thesquareball.net/plus. Let's do the roundup then of all the stuff that's been happening during the international week from a Leeds United point of view. Calvin Phillips, more successful outings for England, struggled against San Marino, obviously, etc. Did you watch that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first half I was kind of watching whilst getting kids to bed and stuff, but I mean, what a fucking waste of time, basically. There's just they're wasting everyone's time out, this San Marino. I'm glad we absolutely destroyed them, because they deserve it for making people go over there to beat them.
I'm fairly sure, when England played them and they conceded that goal inside 7 seconds, San Marino used to play like in a sort of a turquoisey kit.
They did.
And yet they were playing in it looked like some sort of school tribute.
It's Macron, isn't it? I noticed as well.
But it had some funk around the collar. I could have Googled it to find out why, but I'm sure Moscow's doing that now.
I'd love to. I mean, San Marino, except I've spelt it San Marion. Who is she? San Marino kit history. This could be fascinating.
Well,
stuff.
while you look for that, England have now qualified for the Qatar World Cup. Spain are there as well. Rodrigo back in the bosom, under the wing.
Under the bosom sounds sweaty.
Yeah. It might have been sweaty. He was probably running around a fair bit. That's what he does. But he came off the bench, didn't he, when they beat Sweden. Rafa played against Colombia for Brazil. So they're playing Argentina. When's that? Tonight?
That's tonight as we record. I think it's like midnight or 11:30 or something, so might be worth staying up for. Brazil-Argentina is always worth watching, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
A lively game, but I think Brazil, they might have officially qualified with the win over Colombia, but I think they already had ages ago because they'd won pretty much every game, and 5 teams qualify.
I can tell you about San Marino's kits.
So why did they go from sky blue or whatever it was to mad shit?
It's this year.
Right.
It's an anniversary. Because
marking some great moments in their football history.
Well, their historical flag from 1465 until 1797 was those colours.
Right.
So they've used those colours for a anniversary shirt. I don't know what the anniversary is. Oh, it's their 90th anniversary, I assume, of like the San Marino FA. So yeah, it's inspired by their flag from the 16th.
It reminds
century.
me of one of those kits from North America during the Nazil era.
I mean, it's nice.
Do you want the San Marino football quiz?
Yeah, go ahead.
How many games have they ever won in qualifying?
None.
Correct. How many games have they won ever?
One.
They did. They managed to win a friendly. So.
Did they beat Luxembourg?
It was
a blow against the Benelux.
Liechtenstein.
Different.
But
I know that much.
Imagine all that. I mean, we've had some bad times being Leeds fans, haven't we? But Christ.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a nice tweet. It was somebody talking about this. He said he used to knock about in Spain's 6th tier, and he had a teammate in his team, that's how that works, who played for the Andorra national side, and they drew England, I think it was in the 2008 qualifiers for the Euros, wouldn't it? He said, I absolutely loved it. It'd
be great.
He said, I feel like the luckiest man on earth because I get to play against, it was like Lampard and Gerrard and stuff in midfield, and probably was better than them.
I mean, I watched a bit of it last night, and there was a moment where they looked like they had a dangerous break, but you realise the man couldn't run and didn't have any idea of how to get past Tyrone Mings, who is not great. But he just looked at him and went, "Oh, there's just no chance, is there?" And he just basically gave him the ball.
Said that to my mate Ben last night when we were messaging back and forth, because he's generally sort of rugby orientated, but he said, this is a bit daft in the old kickball, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, it is. I said, we could probably play for San Marino and make a decent-ish fist of it.
I think I've suggested this before. Give one space to a raffle.
Yeah.
Just let someone play fullback or in net. You could have someone in net, couldn't you? Wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
you might lose,
So I used to play in net back when I was a younger man. I reckon I could pick that ball out 10 times easy. That's what I could do. Anyway, to Scotland, by the way. Cooper started for Scotland when they beat Moldova, and then he assisted against Denmark with that. It was a header, wasn't it? I think back across goal.
Against angry Casper.
Was he unhappy?
He did get booked.
Did he really?
Disputing a corner award.
What a strange thing to be booked for. What a waste. I mean, you're talking about San Marino being a waste of time. What a waste of time getting booked for disputing a corner. It's never going to add up to a suspension, is it? It's almost, if you're a goalkeeper, you just get away with like one flagrant piece of disgusting dissent every game until you take it to the limit of the disciplinary points. And then you can stop, because you can probably control. You might get unlucky if you bring somebody down, but then you probably get a suspension anyway. You either get sent off, don't you, if you commit a foul as a referee? You don't, as a goalkeeper. I think if a referee commits a foul, that's probably a straight ban. But a goalkeeper, it's normally a red card offence if they're doing anything foul. So you may as well rack up the bookings. Just call the referee what you want. Walking out on the pitch. Oh, book me. Fine. See you at the end of the game.
Not asked. Clicky got booked playing for Poland. I saw the tweet about that and happily ran it through Google Translate and learned that he'd been booked, presumably for upsetting somebody. I don't know, but he played in a win against Andorra, and then they lost to Hungary at home, but they've got the playoff spot in England's group, haven't they now? So
we've glossed over Scotland too quickly. Liam Cooper might be going to a World Cup. It's kind of impressive. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
Yeah, but we've got the lads in Qatar, great bunch of lads that they are going to be going to a World Cup as well. So I wouldn't necessarily take it as any sort of, it's not a merit-based
Liam's had to qualify though, rather than corrupt voting system. So he's had to work a little bit harder for it.
I've just dug out the stat because you made me think of it when discussing goalkeepers getting booked. Jussi Jääskeläinen obviously worked under Sam Allardyce for a long time, committed only 7 fouls in his 436 game career. Somehow managed to collect 4 straight red cards and 24 bookings.
He was an absolute titan of the game.
I wonder if with the Wolves keeper must be in a certain amount of jeopardy for bookings, given how much they cheat and dive and waste time and spoil and stuff. But anyway,
I suppose that's it. You can't get a booking for dissent straight away if you're playing for Wolves or an Allardyce team, because you need to store it up for the time-wasting one later on. But I don't know if Denmark particularly time-waste. Kasper Schmeichel probably sees it as like a stain on his character if somebody asks him to tell me, oh no, I couldn't possibly. I'm the son of Peter Schmeichel. Well, he wouldn't go that far.
But you're right, absolutely. On Scotland, shouldn't have glossed over it, because I look forward to seeing a bunch of Scotsmen trotting round,
losing the playoffs.
Either that is the likelier outcome, or just dicking about in the desert. Even in winter, that's not got a happy outcome, has it?
They're seeded in the playoffs, though, aren't they? So don't they get some kind of soft touch team?
You get there's a single-legged semi-final, isn't there? I think is the way it works.
Oh, is that right?
And then you get to a final. So I think you get you're guaranteed a home draw in the semi-final, I think. I've not looked into it because England have qualified. To be perfectly honest, I was like, oh, well, I'm all right, Jack.
England had qualified the minute that draw was made, really, hadn't they? I mean, you don't want to assume too much, but you look at that and you think, well, they're going to do, aren't they?
Yeah.
On balance. Anyway.
I mean, again, in a group with Poland, in it?
They're all
Lewandowski,
right.
Click.
Yeah.
We should still be beating them, really.
Matty Cash.
Well, this is true. This is true. But I genuinely get more interest in following the other Leeds players in other nations, like Stuart Dallas. I'm quite invested in the fortunes of Northern Ireland, because they're on that cusp of just sort of almost quite making it, and it's playoff territory, isn't it?
Not this time particularly. They've not done so well, but they have been in recent years, haven't they? And I mean, mind you,
they did great against Italy.
Draw against Italy with the wall in goal.
Yes.
Did you see his saves, Moscow?
No, I
made some good saves.
Well, this is it. I assumed
putting together a video compilation, or
I think they would already have been done, and I assumed that the video highlights of Peacock Farrell would just be like, I didn't have half an hour this morning to watch every magnificent save. So, but I'm prepared to congratulate him on a game well done.
Is that right? I mean, it says here, I didn't watch it, but did Dallas play right wing back? Because we know positions are only notional for Stu.
He did. He had a bit of a half chance as well against Italy. Could have been the hero, but just dragged it wide.
Real heroes, Gianni and Ilan Meslier.
Yes,
real weirdos, more like.
We've said that before, though. I quite like the weirdo element to the Leeds United squad. It's quietly sort of dissipating now, isn't it? Because we're breaking up the promotion squad bit by bit. But Gianni,
I think
obviously a bit of a character, but then Meslier, he's just got that little bit of a quirkiness about him.
And Meslier is a young man as well. He's probably not felt quite the authority to put his full weirdness into the dressing room yet. I think as he grows, grows physically, because he might. You never know, dear. But he's big enough. But as he grows into a key senior player, I feel like his weirdness can really kick off.
I do want him to grow, but round, not up.
What, like a Neville Southall situation?
Yeah, I mean, just because his circumference, I bet you could get your hands around him. I think.
Well, Gianni tried, didn't he?
I'd like to see Meslier sniffing Rafinha's hair and see how far that gets him.
We know about the Qatar World Cup dates now, by the way. The schedule's been revealed, hasn't it? So 21st of November to the 18th of December. Now, I think it'll be fun watching England go out just before Christmas, because it'll make for some fun parties and things where we could have some drinks.
See, I just saw this and just thought, oh, is this really happening? It's
bollocks, isn't it? But
it's so shit.
We've got to try and make the best of it.
Have we? I'd rather we didn't bother.
Like, all the stadiums are like within 40 minutes of one another, aren't they? Because Qatar is tiny.
And no one lives there.
Yeah.
And yet they've got a World Cup.
Yeah. How did that happen?
How did it happen? A great bunch of lads.
But
I would prefer to cancel the whole thing, especially after, I mean, this is two different ones. One, because of all the migrant workers who've died. Two, it's very inconvenient for the football calendar. But after the COVID interruptions and the way that messed about last season's dates, we had the late start in middle of September and finished in May, and then this season, the first half of this season, is all the international breaks constantly to catch up with the international games that weren't played due to COVID. And then you think, this is finally when the players get back against Spurs this weekend. We just have a run of games, brilliant. And then knowing that this is on the horizon, where it's like, the game
it's actually this week next year, isn't it? I've just realised. Yeah,
exactly. And the last thing you want this time next year is a World Cup, and there'll be the big gap before it starts as well. And isn't the Championship is having to start in July to accommodate this thing? It's all just shove it up their ass. And Arsene Wenger wants to do it twice a year.
Twice a year, I think it's every 2 years.
Twice a year.
I mean, it's the next logical step.
My understanding of the word biennial is wrong. Every 2 years, twice as often, and he can shove that up his ass as well.
Bielsa will hate this as well, because he hates the number of games you have to play. He thinks there's too much money in football, and we're having to move everyone's games around to accommodate a World Cup in fucking Qatar. I mean, I can imagine he's
got a genuine point when you think about it. Having a full month step down from football for the players who are not going to the tournament. What do you do with them? Because you're essentially putting them back into almost like a pre-season, aren't you, again? Like 3 or 4 months into the season, which is stupid.
And then you're going to be cramming games in thick and fast before and after it to make sure you can get all the games played. Because the season's still ending on 28th of May, so it's not actually... They're not adding a full month on the end of the season, it doesn't seem.
So there's a couple of weeks, maybe?
So there's a bit of compression there. The FA Cup final's probably on the 3rd of March or something daft to accommodate, or in like the middle of July. It just all needs to piss. I'd rather we've qualified and just didn't bother going.
Yeah,
even though
made the point.
Even though England, well, I don't know, England have got a reasonable chance. Actually, we're quite a good side now. I feel like we've more so than ever. I feel like we actually would have a reasonable chance of doing well in it and reaching a final. But we should just not bother. Just send a joke team. Everyone should just send a load of non-league players along. Make it the shittest World Cup ever.
Completely devalue it for the sponsors.
I want to make it a dreadful, dreadful World Cup. Send me. I'm against going as a fan, but I'd go as a player.
I think we need a leader like you in the dressing room. That's what they need. Get on that plane.
Kicking it hard. Yeah. Kicking it in the goal like they did against San Marino.
Yeah, they did that a lot.
They did. They did.
And hard.
Although I think it was quite easy in comparison to...
I noticed that.
Yeah, it did look fairly easy for them.
Back to domestic matters then, and we've seen a few changes in the Premier League. We were saying going into the international break that everyone lost their shit. Gerrard to Villa, what do you think about that?
They're just holding him out and he just wants to do well enough there that he can get the Liverpool job.
I mean, it will be genuinely interesting to see if he can get a tune out of what is quite an expensive side there, and whether he can sort of bolster his own reputation, because there is always that question mark of, well, it's only Scotland, you know.
I mean, Philo has said that the club were quite keen on Gerrard, like, when they're kind of scoping out potential Bielsa long-term replacements. They were quite keen on him, so it'd be interesting to see how he does.
Yeah.
And then I wonder how well he'll have to do to get the Liverpool job after Klopp, because there'd be such a strong emotional pull there that even if he gets Villa to like 10th, there'll be people going, well, we could take him, even though he's not got any real pedigree for it.
It's like Bielsa with Leeds. It's such a poison chalice because you're replacing such a brilliant character and someone who's universally loved. You wouldn't want to go into Liverpool after Klopp, would you, unless you were proper elite level yourself, because you're on a hide into nothing, because you're never going to hit those same heights.
It's Gerrard, though. They'll want him, won't they?
The storyline is set up perfectly, though, for the scum plot, where Klopp goes and they bring in somebody, Eddie Howe-ish. I suppose he's already gone to Newcastle, hasn't he? But somebody kind of up and coming, maybe somebody's, impressing in the Championship, or another German coach. They get somebody who's kind of got a good reputation, like a Moyes, and it's a disaster, and then they flounder around for a little bit, and then Steven Gerrard comes in as the Ole Solskjaer, who's going to save it all, the hero of everything, the guy who won the league for them.
Yeah, it needs to get worse before it can get better, yeah.
But then he won't make it any better. He'll just end up as a lame duck like Solskjaer.
A bit like Souness did, I suppose, back in the day when he came in and from Rangers, in fact. Was he Rangers manager first?
Possibly, yes, he was.
Yeah, and then he went there and didn't particularly do anything.
Well, he had a heart attack.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think that counts as a footballing achievement.
That was his main
Did you get a trophy for that?
I mean, to be honest, Moscow, I could play football and I'd probably have a heart attack. So
yeah,
it's no great.
So it's up there, but it's interesting with Gerrard because it's a guy. I think he's Michael Beale, Ian's brother, who's the one of the coaches who kind of does a lot of the stuff on the training ground. And obviously Gary McAllister was his assistant at the Rangers and is now going to be his assistant at Aston Villa. And I would laugh long and hard if Aston Villa become very successful under this new management regime, and when Liverpool come to replace Klopp, they turn to a former club legend, a trophy winner, the brains behind Aston Villa's renaissance, and give Gary McAllister the managerial job and tell Steven Gerrard to go bollocks himself. That would be absolutely perfect. But there's a lot of presumption around Gerrard going to Liverpool. I think any other club you'd probably think, he's overreaching, he's giving his reputation too much. But then you remember all that boot room bollocks at Liverpool, and of course they're just going to give it to him, aren't they?
They love all that, don't they?
He just needs to sort of keep ticking over in jobs, and then eventually somebody will just go on. Even at Villa, the chief exec at Villa used to be an executive at Liverpool. Purslow. So they were great mates. They were like that. So it's all kind of, it's all there, isn't it?
The foundations are there, yeah.
And you know what? Yeah. It gives me the creeps.
All right. Let's quickly talk about Norwich, because they wanted Frank Lampard. He didn't fancy it because it's beneath him.
It's gutted.
But they've ended up with Dean Smith, who will probably do all right for them in the Championship.
Hey, you never know. He might save them. I
don't think he will he?
I suspect Dean Smith is a far better appointment than Frank Lampard.
Yeah, that's the irony, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is the irony.
But Frank, what does he want? What does he
wants
think?
A soft job, doesn't he?
Yeah, which he's had two of and failed in both of them.
So he needs another.
Yeah. But I
think he's probably not far off taking a job like in China or somewhere where they'll pay him a fortune and he doesn't have any pressure.
I was thinking...
or America.
I was thinking MLS, because he's got the New York City connection when he played with Jackie Harrison under Patrick Vieira. So there's that route there. But even then, you'd think, I don't know who's in charge at New York now, but you'd think that if the City Football Group wanted him, they'd have got him by now. They'd have given him something to do, because they've got... I can't remember which club they own in Australia, but is it
Melbourne?
I think so, but Paddy Kisnorbo's there.
That's Melbourne Knights. I can't remember.
Well, it must be Sydney. I don't know. Apologies to anybody in Australia, but it's the league I don't understand. No. Yeah. So you'd think that they'd have found a job for Frank if he was that desperate, but I don't know. What does he want?
I wanted to see him fail is what I wanted. I wanted to see him turn up at Norwich and be like, these players are rubbish. The ones at Chelsea were really good. And I couldn't get anything out of them. These ones are terrible.
But it will fail.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the good thing. If he'd failed with Norwich, you'd have had the get-out clause of like, well, Norwich were terrible when I got there and I did everything I could to save them. He's waiting for some kind of real soft job, let's say New York City, if he does go there, and just, within weeks, stadium's on fire, people are leaving, children are crying, everybody's upset. That's what we need, is to take him to take on a really an absolute gift wrap soap of a job, and him to just ruin it.
Yeah.
And then F off.
Well done. Warnock. Now, we know that Warnock got fired. We dealt with this last week. Just that little detail. I mean, we haven't corroborated this or verified it. We just saw it in via a screen grab. But the idea that he wasn't allowed in on the Sunday after he'd been fired to collect his stuff because Chris Wilder was already in there, like arranging his stuff in the office.
Well, this is what happened with Steve Evans, wasn't it? He was on his way in, and was it Rosler he replaced? I think he was on his way out.
Rosler was on the way out.
And Steve Evans was driving in with his big special coat that he'd had to bring with him because he couldn't fit into the Macron training gear. Let's iron your badge on, Steve. But yeah, oh well, that's a shame, Neil.
Chris Wilder's probably like tearing the office apart for any trace of Patrick Bamford that might have been left behind. If I see one fucking bit of Bamford in this room,
and you fumigate it. Get it out. Anyway, we have heard from what's his face, haven't we? From Warnock,
Colin.
From Colin. Yeah. Should we play the clip?
I mean, it's absolute classic. I think we mentioned this last week that he would say that the only thing lacking in the job was just needed a few more bodies in the transfer market. Lo and behold.
Don't spoil it, Moscow. I couldn't have seen that coming.
I needed to buy some more terrible strikers, which is what he's done in every job he's ever done.
We kept them up, and now we've got a hell of a good squad. They need 2 or 3 good players in January, but I'd imagine the lad coming in will get that support.
The lad coming in.
People behind the scenes will probably be glad I'm not. Although I don't mean Steve Gibson. I am a bit frustrated. Even Steve, he said he felt he'd let me down a bit. We just missed out on a few lads I feel could have really got us up there in the top 2 or 3. That's with the signings I wanted. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. And the club are going down a different direction regarding recruitment. And that's fair enough. I thought we were very close to getting a few to start with. But it was like extracting teeth to get them overboard. It just never happened. And one by one, other clubs signed them, and as we hesitated too much and we missed out. Even nobody corrected him on the audio. Absolute typical. And then he doesn't stop there. There is more. I don't want to labour the point, but it is, hopefully the last we'll hear of him.
No, it's not though, is it? One more job. Is Sharon urging him, pleading with him not to come home and spend his time pottering around the garden in Cornwall?
Well, he did say, you never say never. I thought this season would be my end, but it's not the end of the season, is it? Only November, so you just never know.
I like how I just love in that previous bit when we heard the clip before, how he externalises the blame. It's never about him, is it?
No.
It's always about external factors.
Again, so this is the other part from the same interview. The fans were amazing. Just look at them today. You have a couple who moan, which you always get, but you look at us today, and we had such a small squad with kids on the bench. I mean, it's such a competitive league, but the fans have been great. We've had some good times here, some frustrating times as well, because I know we should be up there, but that's life, and it all just that bit about it.
Saying how close they are, have you seen the league table? They are 16 points off.
But they just needed to, if they'd got the players he wanted.
Just 2 or 3 more bodies.
He said that's the crucial thing. And this is, like, to leave aside any jokes, this is the crucial Warnock bullshit that you always get. We just missed out on a few lads I feel could have really got us up there in the top 2 or 3. That's with the signings I wanted. He always has this mythical team of players that it was like pulling teeth trying to get them over somewhere. They all went to other clubs. I'd love to. I'm not going to bother, but go through all the championship signings that were made and work out right which ones are these, Neil. How many of these were you signing that were going to get Middlesbrough from, where are they, 16th?
They are somewhere there, yeah.
Into the top 2. Which were the ones that you just, a couple more over the line and we would really... They're the players I wanted, but other people at the club, they just wouldn't do it.
And Steve, he admitted he let me down.
They are 14th. They've got 22 points. They would have needed to earn an additional 16 points to be in the top 2.
They were just those 2 or 3 lads that we wanted in. We'd identified them.
Clint Hill's retired, Neil.
The deals were there to be done. Adulterapt, he was begging to come here. He just couldn't do it.
Oh dear me.
Is he still playing Adulterapt?
I have no idea.
Well, let's move on to Steve Morrison now. The man that Neil Warnock, he once predicted he would be a Leeds legend. He's the player's choice at Cardiff, isn't he?
Dangerous ground. Cardiff are on here.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this because today, as we record on Tuesday, my mate Patrick, it's his son's birthday. He's 18 today, so he becomes an adult today. So happy birthday, Henry! And it occurred to me. So that's what. Do the maths on it. It was born in 2003. Is that correct? So your first proper formative memories of watching Leeds is Steve Morrison. Basically, that's your earliest memory of Leeds United. I grew up on the diet of Strachan,
Mike Whitlow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, McAllister,
Mike
Steve
Whitlow.
Morrison. Somebody should be up in the Hague for that. I don't know who's responsible.
Neil Warnock
Yeah,
is responsible for it.
Mm.
That's we know who it is. Or Steve. I mean, I'm happy to throw them both in.
Yeah,
I'm happy to not bother with the trial, to be honest.
We had to get Luciano out of the dressing room, though. I mean, I know he scored 30 goals.
but anyway, yeah. Are you a fan of Steve Morrison? Which, as we mentioned before, we're going to do over on the extra ball. He's actually kicking it off. He's provoked this. Give us a reason to talk about him. Well, Leeds United bastards, and he's one, isn't he? Let's face it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when existing players talk up the manager who has come in, because they always do that, don't they? No, you never get a caretaker manager comes in and a player comes out and goes, training's absolute shambles. Like, he don't know what he's doing.
Although they do all seem to be retrospectively turning on Mick McCarthy faster than and with more power behind their words than you normally get. There's a whole, every midfielder at the club seems to have come out and said, right now, finally, we're allowed to touch the ball. And Will Vaux, who obviously is just the Welsh Perlo in waiting, McCarthy's been holding him back, saying it's been annoying him that people complain about them not being able to pass. People say we need someone in there who can pass the ball. We can all pass the ball if that's required, but we do what the manager asks. And if that's to win the fight, then you do that. So they're all quite glad that Mick McCarthy's gone, so the midfielders will have something to do. And this is the big reason why they've taken Steve Morrison and put him in charge. Well, I mean, that's the other part. But yeah, it's the change in playing style, because the results haven't been good. I think it's unless they've played since we last discussed him, it's
They
lost one, drawn
loads
one,
on the
won
bounce,
one.
didn't they?
They beat Huddersfield.
Well, everyone beats Huddersfield.
But with Morrison in charge.
Right.
And they passed the ball around them. So if they can pass around the Carlos Corberan team, don't know what that says. But yeah, the big risk for me is when Keith Moore says,
Yes.
I've loved working under him. Morrow's been great. That's your boss. You're going to be still calling him Morrow. And if he's gone around the dressing room going, he's the nice guy. Now Mick McCarthy's gone, and I don't think that Stephen Morrison's a particularly nice guy. But everybody call me Morrow, and then there's going to
it's like a teacher coming in and saying, you don't need to call me Mr. Smith. You can just call me Gavin.
And there's going to come a point where results turn, trying to pass the ball, silky skilled in the Championship with Cardiff's midfield, starts to backfire on them, and Morrison's going to want to put a bit of authority on it. He's only got the job to the end of the season as it is, and he can't switch to, you're going to have to all start calling me Gaffer, because it will just be, shut up, Morrow. And also, I think, passing the ball in midfield, shut up, Morrow. Well, could we get the ball out? Shut up, Morrow. I need you in early for training tomorrow. Shut up, Morrow. So I don't think it's going to work.
As the world's biggest Becchio fan, you can tell he's projecting just a tiny, tiny bit here, can't you?
They will turn on him. It's all fun and Morrow when they've won one game in 3.
And Morrow, that famous phrase.
But when they've lost 6 on the bounce, and it's Morrow every day going, just pass it more. I've let you pass it. What more do you want to do? Shut up, Morrow.
Hey, January transfer window's not far off now. We can get excited about that. I hate the transfer windows.
Well, that's when we lost Becchio, so don't.
Oh dear.
Bring it up.
But we're being linked with footballers.
It's always the same footballers.
Although John Swift at Reading, we have sort of learned that Bielsa's a bit of a fan, so you never know. That might get donkeys out of contract in the summer, and he's tearing up the EFL if that thing's still going. He's doing well, isn't he?
He should be fairly cheap. Reading need the money, don't they? Didn't they?
Hell yeah.
They're like 200% wages to turnover, weren't they, at one point?
Yeah. So, and they did it seems to have gone under the radar, but they did the old buy the stadium for whatever you feel like dodge, which I don't know if that's gonna Derby-cate them at any point.
Should we laugh at Derby, because they've just been given another 9 points today? They've accepted that, haven't they?
What does that put them on now?
They're on -3.
-3.
They've accrued, I think, a lot of points, quite a lot of points relative. I'll have a look. Let me tell you exactly. But they are 18 points adrift.
Well, that is a shame.
It is. They are bottom. It won't surprise you to learn they are bottom of the EFL Championship division, which is the one below the Premier League. They're on -3 points, 18 points adrift. Let me just scroll across to it. There we go.
Moscow, in the meantime, I think you should make some literary references to John Swift.
John Swift, yeah. Anyway, so Derby at bottom on -3, then Barnsley have got 11 points, Hull have got 12, Peterborough have got 15.
I'm not interested. Stupid division. All I know is Derby at bottom of it.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a genuine serious point here. Like, so they always blather on about, rent-free on strings, why you asked. And the reason why we're asked is because when they beat us in the playoff semi-final, this was all the stuff that was going on, and they're now paying the price for all the stuff that they did back then, putting together that side that beat
Cheating.
us. Yeah, they cheated.
They did cheat.
Yeah, you can have Frank Lampard and Ashley Cole and all those Chelsea loanees, but you've got to pay for them.
Yeah.
And they couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're here with the consequences. And there are only so many professional football clubs in this country. It's not like it's difficult to keep track of what's happening at Derby and laugh at them. So it's, it's pretty easy. It's not like they are inside my head the whole time. I just have to look at
They're in the news.
internet.
They're in the news.
And the news.
Yeah.
And the news will say, Derby are a laughingstock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I need. I don't, it's there for me.
Which, when you like counterpoint it to the gloating that they did on the pitch at Elland Road, which they were fully entitled to do, given everything, the build up to it, all the things we were singing, fine. Take a shit on the dressing room floor if you need to, but this is the payback.
Well, I mean, you're on the theme I was about to come to. I just have to turn on the television and I can see their manager having somebody farting in his face. It's easy. It's all there. The joy, the fun is just a click away at any moment. And funny. Is Wazza going to stay there? Is he going to get some help in? I'd quite like him to build a little team of like the aging golden generation failures around him, and they can all take Derby
Maybe
down.
Scholes goes in as well, helps him out, whatever, chews his toenails, that kind of jazz.
I've got a weird sort of respect for Rooney sticking there because he clearly doesn't need the money, does he? But he is kind of. I mean, maybe it's his.
But the thing is, as well,
he's been told to keep himself busy.
Yeah,
maybe by someone at home. You are not going to just have the afternoons to yourself, Wayne.
You will stick with this. Yeah. No, I mean, the other side of it is that it is a softball for him as well, isn't it? Because he can't fail because the whole thing's knackered. So it's a good way to cut your managerial teeth and not be judged against anything other than a spectacular boardroom failure.
I don't think anyone's giving Rooney another job after
You don't
this.
think?
No.
Oh, somebody will. Football's stupid. Look at Mark Hughes. He came to mind, when you were talking earlier on about...
It's off-field stuff, though, with Rooney.
Right.
The fact he looks about 60 as well, I think would put people off. They'd be like, what
you
is
think
he?
the off-field stuff will make people give a shit when people kept employing, some of the miscreants from years gone by?
Maybe he could get the Wales job.
Maybe.
When that one comes
There will
up.
always be enough stupid people out there, but he's the same age as James Milner, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a surprisingly young man.
So when you've got the options, you can either give a job to, and it'll be the same money, so you can give a job to Wayne Rooney or James Milner. Which one? It's not difficult, is it? But people employ and continue to employ Steve Evans, and I think that's kind of. I would quite like Wayne Rooney to continue in managerial employment to the extent that he becomes kind of a Steve Evans figure, where he keeps turning up at like League Two jobs and is horrible, and then people go, but he played for England. But did he? Wayne Rooney? He played for England. He was at a World Cup and everything.
Just turned 36 as Wayne Rooney. His birthday was 24th of October.
Wow.
Christ.
Yeah, I mean, he could still be playing.
Well, Cristiano Ronaldo is, isn't he? And he's 36.
Let's not bring him into this. Milner, as a great example of humanity and health.
Yeah. What was Gordon Strachan doing at 36? Being a good Premier League footballer is what he was doing.
Anyway, Ryan Kent, just as another extension of the Aston Villa chat, being linked to them. Imagine that.
It's creative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just gone straight away.
How have they,
Villa want him now.
and we've been linked to Ross Barkley as well from Chelsea. Could you imagine that would work? Ross Barkley.
He's a midfielder. I'd probably take him, to be fair. I was quite happy with him the first time
well,
around.
Well, Danny Mills disagrees.
Well, I know he does.
Because he said that his time with Neil Warnock at Leeds, which was, 10 years ago nearly? That's going to put him off, isn't it? He's never going to want to come back.
I can't remember which washed-up ex-pro it was giving an opinion on the same website as Danny Mills gives opinions on, but they were saying, really insightful, saying a lot of top clubs are going to be watching Rafinha.
It's good that. I like this Mills idea here, though, that, you can say, look, Marcelo Bielsa's there now. No, it's Warnock in a mask. Don't take me back. I know what you're trying to do. No, honestly, it's Marcelo Bielsa. Warnock hasn't been there for a decade. No.
It's Rafinha. You've been playing with Rafinha. No, it'll be Danny Pugh. I'll get there and it'll be Danny Pugh. I don't even know if they played together, but he was always there, wasn't he, Pugh?
Well done to the 23s. Beat Mansfield in the Premier League Cup. We played basically a bunch of fetuses, didn't we, in that?
It's about bloody time they won a game.
Is that right?
Yeah, they've been losing games for ages.
I suppose they have.
They lost 6-2. That's not good enough, is it?
Yeah, part of the issue with the under-23s is that we've promoted loads of them now.
And
so we can't
actually,
play them.
they're too good, aren't they?
So we were doing really well when we had Somerville and Gelhardt. And
Jackson has all the 15-year-olds he wants at his at his disposal, playing 7 years above their age grade. I don't see what he's got to complain about. If you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. We'll get Lampard in, play the kids.
Get Rob Bowman in. That's what I say. Someone else of that vintage. But
I mean, like Archie Gray genuinely is 6 or 7 years younger than the 23s.
Yeah, it's crazy,
which is insane.
Max Dean always looks good as well in these games.
He scored a right twatter with his left foot, didn't he?
Yeah, I feel like if we played more than one up front and didn't also have Joe Gelhardt and Greenwood there, people would be like, "Well, get Max Dean on the bench." But he's
some interesting things going on in midfield as well, because that's the other kind of hot gap in the first team. But obviously we know about Bate. But Jack Jenkins captained them last night and was looking pretty good, and he was a bit last season, but has been looking pretty good this season. And I still like McGurk's hair. The goalkeeper made some saves, so that's good too.
It's incredibly ginger. Is he the most ginger player we've had since Gordon Strachan?
Hopkin.
That's true.
Yeah,
Hayden Fox as well, actually. He was very ginger, but I'd try to forget him.
Hopkin brought the ginger face with him as well.
The ice cream van's back.
Does that come through on the record? I've never been sure.
Yeah, it does.
I think he sells pies or sandwiches or something.
Okay. You might get, because we record at the same time on a Tuesday every week, you might get treated to the ice cream van.
Do you want anything?
Just bring me back some sort of coffee. That'd be nice. Thanks, Moscow. It is worth mentioning, like, the 23's plate is not pretending to go off now, is Moscow.
Some stairs there, I didn't realise.
Yeah. Is he not gone down in the lift? The 23's played against the Scum, didn't they? Lee Sports Village, and they had like a £20 million footballer in their side, Amad Diallo, who they signed from Atalanta.
Glazes out. They've not invested in this team. They've only spent £20 million on a striker to play for their reserves.
And well done to the women as well, who've won in 2 cup rounds. We mentioned, I think, some weeks ago they were due to play. They were forced to go to Hartlepool in the FA Cup, having beaten someone else from a crap northeast town. And
they've got a trip to Alnwick coming up as well. They just love going up to the northeast.
Well, the next round of the FA Cup as well, they've been drawn away to Norton and Stockton Ancients, so they're back there again. They just can't resist the northeast. Why don't they just bloody move there?
Going back to Victorian Railway times, it sounds like, doesn't it?
What's the name of that team?
Norton and Stockton Ancients.
Mm-hmm. The Norton is an interchange on the A19, I think. Fairly sure.
It's a town where my dad was born and grew up. So let's be nice about Norton.
Well, that's my the extent of my knowledge.
There is a green there.
When I used to do
it's got quite a nice
the traffic reports. That's all.
Well, it sounds like you knew now about it.
It's got a fucking interchange. What more do I need to know?
Telling the good people of the northeast absolute nonsense about Norton. Oh, you can go there and get a plane home.
There's a crash at the Norton interchange. Don't drive there. Go a different way. That's valuable information, more than your fucking green chat.
There's a pond at the green, and there's quite a nice high street now. It's
Do they still
bit posh.
Test the witches in there by ducking them on a stool, or
that was? I don't think they ever did that at Norton. It's a civilised place.
And the Papa John's dream died. I don't think we mentioned this last week because we lost at Salford in an outrageous game, 5-3. It was the 21s, wasn't it? But
there was some outrageous goals in there as well.
Was that when Bate scored? Was it Bate?
He ran
the goal. Yeah,
he ran the. Well, he sort of ran the length of the pitch, not past anyone. Admittedly, he just ran in a big straight line.
Could you run the length of a pitch like that?
No, I mean he's surprisingly quick actually. Because when people talk about Bate, they always talk about his way he can control the play and the way he'll find little pockets of space and stuff like that, and his passing range. But
he was a midfielder,
fairly quick as well. But people never. He just bezzed away from him, didn't he? It was quite nice.
I think it was Greenwood's goal was good as well, because it was a throw-in that Joffrey let go over his head and kind of span and totally bamboozled whatever 47-year-old defender was playing for Salford, and ran away from him and crossed it to it was either Greenwood or Max Jimmy Dean. I think it was the Greenwood goal. It was a long time ago. And then Salford scored 5, so absolute bollocks. And anyway, we need. I suppose Papa John's have changed hands, but the former owner, Papa John himself, the founder, has gone. He's a maniac.
Yeah, I was going to say he was. He's found himself in the news for bad things.
Yeah, he's been
bit of a character.
He's been ousted and written out of history that he's not happy about, and he claims that I think he said in the last year he's tasted 800 Papa John's pizzas and found them to be much worse than when he was in charge.
That's at least 2 a day.
Well, exactly.
There's a lot of pizza.
Yeah. But
Right.
I believe him.
So what's he done?
No, I think we should just end this section
Okay.
here.
It's, yeah.
Is it worse? I mean, if you're going on pizza people who've done things wrong.
The Square Ball Podcast.